apparently the West has been threatening. This has been an ongoing issue, threatening to overthrow the president, Traore. He's been, I guess, apparently assassination attempt more than our comrades over in Venezuela. He seems to have the record of 20 times. I want to put up your tweet here in a second, but first let me just share this. This is just so people understand that the reason they come after people that are going against American imperialism, the Western war machine, is, not to mention the petrodollar and all those reasons we see over and over, is because that interferes with the plan of American dominance, Western dominance over the planet. So here's a guy that's been a victim of that, but yet he has prevailed through a lot of these, like we said, 20 different assassination attempts. So let me put the tweet up here, and then I want to get to your part of it as well. When will they leave Captain Traore alone? Since coming to power 30 months ago, Captain Traore has survived 20 assassination attempts. The sad aspect is they're not seeking to overthrow him because of failures of leadership. To the contrary, they hate him for precisely that reason. They are threatened by the development taking place in Faso. These assassination attempts do not come cheap either. At least $15 million have been spent trying to kill Traore simply because he's fighting for African people. Let me put yours up here because I like you kind of did this breakdown, and I guess we have this video too. So give me
before you put
go for it.
Before you put that up, I actually just sent you a link because this is like the trigger of why that event is being, I'm sorry. Well, on top of the assassination attempts right now, which were all covert, you didn't have like officials in the administration like actually coming out and saying we're trying to assassinate Ibrahim Traore. However, we do now have a U.S. general in the army calling for Traore to be arrested. So, that's kind of what has propelled this to, the front of the conversation within the past week or two. So now we have an American general saying he needs to be arrested for quote unquote stealing African resources. Get that, to protect himself. That's what, he says. Yeah. That's what the general says.
So this is, Burkina Faso's president. He finally responds to the U.S. general's threats, as you mentioned. And he's saying, I don't know if you can see this. I have a hard time bringing it up any bigger than this, but Traore is saying, as the military leader, he's issued a defiant response to U.S. General Michael Langley's recent threats of arrest, elimination, or even invasion, declaring, we either agree to fight for our country or we remain slaves forever. The statement delivered during the national security address underscores escalating tensions between the West African nation and anti-terrorism strategies. There's more. All these ads. Those suck.
Yeah. That's like the gist of what I wanted to get out of that article. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, man, I mean, if you could, like, I don't know if you want to pull up, that tweet. Yeah, but I think it's relevant because Eric Prince and the Prince family overall is a major donor, like, to Donald Trump. So,
yeah,
I think people should hear that clip of him talking, because right now he's actually being sent to the Congo to, help protect some of the quote unquote protect some of the resources over there. So he's already involved, in Trump's foreign policy in Africa at this point. So if you could play that clip.
Look, all this talk of illegal migration in Europe, in the United States, it ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Who is governed? Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens, because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country better.
People on the left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Eric Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Enough. Because if you go to these countries and you see how they suffer under absolutely corrupt, made-up governments that are just criminal syndicates, the people of Africa, the people of Latin America, a lot of them deserve better.
Oh my God. It's the same playbook, man. This is the same playbook all over again. All over again. They need our intervention because they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're gonna thank us for forcing our democracy on them. Is that what's going on here?
Pretty much. And, the gist of what I was getting at, in my tweet is, looking aside, all the racist undertones and what he was saying, the facts of the matter is, if you are a Trump supporter and you're worried about the deep state, isn't a key part of the deep state the CIA? Well, what has the CIA been doing like over the past few decades?
Yep.
They've been overthrowing governments all over the world. And that list that you see right there is a list of all the countries that we have either successfully overthrown a government in or made attempts at overthrowing a government in over the past few decades since World War II. So almost every single country like in Africa and Latin and South America, if it isn't us, then, unfortunately, it's another like Western power, that has tried to get involved over there. So, the truth is, this should be an issue that Traore in particular should be an issue that both conservatives and liberals can agree on. And the reason I say that is because another part of what, Traore has been saying is that Africans need to stop leaving Africa and stay in Africa and help build the continent up and get rid of the imperial forces that are controlling the resources in Africa. That's literally his message. So if you're a conservative who cares about illegal immigration, then shouldn't you want to support leaders like who are telling people to stop illegally going to other countries? Shouldn't that be the type of person you want to see in power over there? And if you're a liberal and you care about people suffering and dying all over the world, wouldn't you want people to be empowered themselves and to actually build up their own government? And if you look at what, Ibrahim Traore has actually been doing since he's been over there, the IMF now, the International Monetary Fund, this isn't just, some guy on Twitter saying this. A direct quote from them is saying that despite the challenging humanitarian and security environment, the economy is expected to remain robust in 2025, and the quote-unquote regime has made commendable progress in raising domestic revenue, containing the public wage bill, and increasing spending on education, health, and social protection. He's been investing in public housing, investing in education, and taking control of the country's resources. So the IMF is saying that he's improving the living standards over there. So if you're a liberal, you should be happy that there's a leader who's improving the living conditions over there. And if you're conservative, you should be happy that there's a leader telling people, stop leaving, stay here. So this should be an issue that both sides agree on. However, what does our government do? Oh, he's a dictator. Like he's robbing his people and all that. So it's hilarious, man. And I can talk more about some of the other great steps he's taken. But to be honest, he's just a populist. He's a populist who is in control of the country, and he's nationalized several of their gold mines. He's gotten rid of the French military. He's kicked them out of the country. And he's also now forming an economic alliance with Mali and Niger called the AES. It stands for something French, but in English, it means the Alliance of Sahel States. And the Sahel is that region in Central Africa. So it's a problem for the West because the West has something called ECOWAS, the Economic Organization of West African States. And essentially, this guy is heading an economic organization that is directly competing with the Western-controlled imperialist economic organization over there. And they're even talking about creating, wait for it, a gold-backed currency. Now, Matt, have you heard of any African leader who has talked about making an African currency within the last decade or two. Does that ring any bells for you?
Maybe there's a few. I don't
Mm.
know. I think Traore, he might know. Let's see what his tweet is, because he might know exactly what you're talking about, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying, they keep telling me I will die like Gaddafi, Thomas Sankara, or any young leader that tried to make Africa better. I'm not scared, and I won't regret dying for my people. Wow, this guy. This is, and these are the type of murders and kills, assassinations, coups we've been doing. And you guys saw the list. Since I mean, everybody talks about, oh, when was a good war that we were in? When it's like, we've done good wars. World War II. Whip this list out to people. Whip the list out. We just showed you guys of every one of these, and a lot of them are failed. But the point is, we fund them. We secretly do them. We try to take these leaders out. We've been doing it forever. And you hit it on the head, Jay. The ones that are on the top of our list are the ones that are forming their own currency. That's why Saddam is no longer here. That's why Gaddafi's no longer here. These are the ones that were going against the petrodollar. I didn't know that at the time. I fell for it. I know a lot of you guys probably fell for it when we were younger. We thought, oh, they're hanging Saddam. That sounds like the right thing to do, I guess. I remember thinking that, like, oh, I guess that's a thing. Now we have more information. We certainly have more information about Gaddafi. All this footage I never saw him talk about 9/11. I never saw him talk about Israel. I never see him talk about what he was actually doing for his people. But here we go in real time. It's happening yet again. And we have courageous leaders like Traore doing this, saying this out loud. It's pretty phenomenal to see this type of courage coming from him right now.
Yep. And, when he first, assumed the presidential role, do you know that he didn't increase his salary to the presidential salary because he was a general in the army before? He froze his salary where it was. And, he is cracking down on corruption, in the government, as far as I can tell. So, he's nationalized the gold mines. He's cracking down on, illegal, illegal trafficking of their resources. And he's also now just introduced a step, I believe, where he's going to be processing, I believe, the majority of the gold that's actually mined in Burkina Faso right there. And that's actually the most profitable part of the process. It's not the getting the gold out the ground. It's actually selling the gold after it's been refined and processed and all that. So he's taking a lot of major steps that other African countries, unfortunately, haven't taken yet. And guess what? The only countries we don't try to overthrow are the ones who are already with the program. Like the ones who already have the corrupt leaders. We don't go in there and bother overthrowing them because they're already cool. The only countries that we go after are the countries that are actually trying to do things that interfere with the agenda, not of the American people, of American oligarchs and corporations.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, I appreciate you bringing this story to our viewers' attention. You always have a great insight, and there's so much that's going on. It's so hard to keep track of everything. But this all affects us. All this stuff, our foreign policy always affects us. People don't like to think it does. They like to think, oh, it's civil justice. That's it. We have to fight for equality on the ground. It's like,
it's literally one of these social issues used to divide people now, because our foreign policy is so terrible. It's preventing the world from developing, which is causing a lot of people to all try to come to the one place where they believe that they have an opportunity. And then those people are seen as invaders by some people, in that country. And now the question is, are you pro-invasion or are you anti-invasion? Or are you racist or are you pro-open borders? So it's like a wedge issue that is being created by our foreign policy that is preventing us from having a rational conversation. I'm an immigrant. I don't think we should have open borders. I think we should know who's coming in and out the country. I think there should be a sensible strategy behind it. And I think we should stop overthrowing countries all over the world. Two sides should be able to agree on those things.
Yeah. Well, President Trump was saying some of the right stuff we wanted to hear in Saudi Arabia today. He's saying we don't want to be pushing our our way on you as a solution. We know you might have your own solution or whatever the
Yeah.
problem is, and we don't want to create the problem for you. So it's good to hear words. It's good to hear words. We're
just
talking
like
about
Biden
it.
said, he's going to solve racism. Just like Biden said that, Trump is saying those words.
Okay.
But you know, I hope let's hope for the best. But
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we won't hold our breath, Jay, but we will continue having conversations like these. Thank you so much, Jay Scott. Again, no longer a guest co-host. He's a regular co-host on The Homeless Left. Let people know where they can find you. I know your Twitter account, of course.
Yep. Find me on Twitter. That's the best place to reach me at JS Ascension, or you can find me on Instagram at 649 Royalty. So I'll catch you guys later. Have a good day, y'all. Speak soon.